family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jah.
And I am Ansony Sieh, and I'm happy to be back after 2 months of vacation. This is home. This is a business I've committed myself to be part of the conversation about a dear country we share and love, Liberia, that is in a difficult place, has been, but there are men and women who say they have the boots to take that country out of that difficult place. And there are Liberians across the globe who want to see this country to survive, to prosper, and for a people to be happier. That is why we are here. This is the hour of politics, of course, and the topics we'll be discussing: VP pick politics in the opposition bloc and trending national issues. Talking about the issues, we will be looking at, do Cummins and Gonglo have better options for VP pick? Questions will be coming after that. Pro tem Sieh goes after U.S. ambassador. Speaker Buffer Chambers dishes out money in Maryland County. We are attending Prince Charles' coronation in London. The pro president, is he pro down there? Finally, will any collaboration make any difference in 2023? To discuss these issues, we have our panelists seated. Let me welcome Mr. Duke JJ, who is from ANC. Duke, it's good to have you. Welcome from the motherland, Liberia. I understand you were there a few days ago. You returned. How you doing?
Thanks, Ansony. It feels good to, mention welcome from the motherland, Liberia, right? But I'm fine. Everything's okay. Came back a little bit under the weather because of the bad roads, but, I'm okay.
All right. Thank you. And we also have Dr. Sanjay Bang, who is like an advisor to Tiawon Gonglo, and he is a member of Team Gonglo, Minnesota. Dr. Bang, it's good to have you. How you doing, brother?
I'm glad to be here, my man. I'm excited to be with this gentleman I see on the platform today.
All right. We also have Comrade Paul, who is also representing Team Gonglo. It's good to have you. How you doing? First time here at Focus on Liberia. Let's share with you our ceremonial cola here, some water. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the chance to use the platform. It's my first time.
Yes.
So I'm the freshman on the team.
All right. So do you care to share with us what role you play with Team Gonglo quickly here?
So I have been working on the education committee, and we have crafted the future policy, future programs for Liberia. And so I'm very happy. I collaborated with well-trained professionals. I don't want to call their name now because I don't have the permission.
Okay.
But we work with the best brains of the country.
Thank you.
And we ask ourselves whether where we are now is good, and we said no. And we said, what can we do? And in answering that question, we listed several policies and programs that a future Gonglo government can use.
Thank you so very much, Comrade Paul. We also have with us LPP USA Secretary General, Mr. Junius D. Zoga II. He's no stranger to FOL. It's good to have you. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Comrade. And again, thank you for accepting us to come and take part again the second time on your show.
You are always welcome. And we have J. Victor Namwe. I understand he is a supporter of Mr. Alexander Benedict Cummings, who is also a contender for the Liberian presidency. It's good to have you, Mr. Namwe.
It's good to be here. Thank you very much. Yes, I am leaning Mr. Cummings. I am actually a member of the United People's Party, UPP. But this election cycle, we are not fielding a candidate. And even though my executive committee has taken the position to collaborate with the CDC, but I'm leaning Cummings.
All right. Thank you. And we have Dr. Panando. Dr. Do, you know, stranger to us here at FOL. It's good to have you again and welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. And it's wonderful being on your program today once again. Look forward to sharing my views and experience.
Thank you. So the stage is set. At this time, we want to thank you. We want to welcome Liberians across the globe following us here on Facebook or YouTube where we broadcast to please do us a favor by sharing the broadcast with any contact so that they can follow the discussion about this country, Liberia. First issue on our menu, the choice for vice president is something that many people see as so much crucial this time around. And Mr. Bwaka took the first step from the opposition bloc. Two other candidates people see as being serious, Mr. Alexander Benedict Cummings and Tiawon Gonglo, who are yet to make that decision. It's like everybody, you know, was waiting on Bwaka. Bwaka has made a move. Well, whichever way you see his move, he has made his move. Now, the question we are asking to start the discussion here is, do Cummings and Gonglo have better options right here for them? So to get started, let's go to Dr. Kwan. Dr. Kwan, are there better options here for the two aspirants or candidates to be?
Of course, I think so.
Okay.
You know, the VP pick is important because it's the public's first look at how the candidate makes decision. This is one of the most consequential decisions the candidate, one of the most consequential decisions that the candidate can make. Remember, the VP is supposed to be just as qualified to become president, just in case of the demise of incapacity of the president. So it is an important choice, but it's also a way that gives us some kind of insight about how that person makes a decision. Now, usually, if you're going to use a political calculus, you first try and find the weakness of the candidate, right?
Right.
And say, okay, what is it that this candidate is not really good at? Then you find a vice president who's equally qualified, but has a strength in the area that the candidate is a little bit weak in, right?
Right.
And now looking at the choices on the table right now, I think if, let's say when these other two candidates pick a vice president, I think they will go more by the calculus, the expected traditional way of picking a vice president than what VP Bwaka did.
And Dr. Kwan, you know, we talk about qualification. For the voters, do they look at qualification? And what are some other things that need to be factored in making that decision? Because at the end of the day, it's about the numbers. So you are thinking in Bwaka's choice here. What you think went in that calculation? Numbers, money?
I don't know. Seriously, I can't say or I cannot assume what Ambassador Bwaka was thinking. But even if he was going for the numbers, I would say this was a decision that's 6 years too late, right? Because like back in 2017, it was like common knowledge. This was your VP would come from Nimba, and it was a landslide. And then in the end, when everybody thought that was going to be the decision, he chose Nukwe instead. And then most people credited the choice of Nukwe for his losing in 2017. Now, though, that this year we have a candidate like Gonglo, who's also from Nimba, and CDC is playing a big role in Nimba. The Nimba vote is practically dispersed, right? To be honest, amongst these three parties, and whatever his choice could have brought from Nimba is probably not as significant as it would have been in 2017. So I don't know how much of that numbers game played in his decision, but if it was the deciding factor, then I can say it was a poor choice.
Well, bring it home. Your friends are waiting, and be as quick as you can be. Okay. Uh, who would Tiawon be looking for here? And where is he looking right now? Does he have a short lay in the first place?
I don't know. Basically, last time I talked to Tiawon was Councilor Gonglo. It's been a week now. I am expecting him back in the States this week, later this week. If he has not made the choice before getting here, I will have better insight. I'll talk to him personally, and if I get any juicy news, I can promise I'll get to you.
No short lay at this time.
Not that I know of.
Thank you.
I know that all the other candidates, or let's say all the opposition top candidates, are all talking to each other presently, but I'm not aware of any short list.
Doug, I'll go straight to the meat. The rumors around now is that Cummings is trying to talk to Nyomli. We all know what happened in the Liberty Party. We know that Mr. Ability has been supporting Mr. Cummings, and there has been a division in the party. Nyomli is on the other side, and some people have been saying that it is Mr. Cummings that has been accused. Mr. Cummings of using Ability as his hand to divide the Liberty Party, for political advantage. So the Nyomli side have held that against Mr. Cummings politically, and now because she's not being picked by Bloc, we are hearing Cummings is trying to talk to her. Is that something that is ongoing as a discussion? Do you think that is a good move if that's what Cummings is thinking? Is there any other better option out there other than Nyomli being a discussion right now?
So, Ansony, let's get at the first fact here. At no point in time was Mr. Cummings ever behind the destruction of any political institution. Mr. Cummings always carries himself in a manner in which he protects institutions. He's focused on building as opposed to destroying. I do agree there was some kind of disagreements in terms of the Liberty Party, but I'm in no position to speak on behalf of the Liberty Party out of respect for their leadership, and I think it would be disrespectful if I delve into that particular issue. What I will say, though, that there are a lot of speculations going around in terms of the vice presidential candidate. And, it's exciting to see people yearning to hear from Mr. Cummings when it comes to who's going to be the choice, right? Going into election. So it makes me feel that people are really, really engaged and they want something, that's going to be beneficial for the country. I do think that whatever that decision is going to take into consideration the change brand, right? Real change that is. What are we looking for when it comes to leadership in that country? Mr. Cummings always been clear about doing things differently, right? In addition to that, we're looking at the economic side of things, right? How can we be able to create the type of economic shift to the right that can provide jobs, opportunities, and different things for our people as well? So I think whoever's, get the opportunity to go run aside, Mr. Cummings is going to fit into that category as well. But I've heard some rumors. I've heard the news. I've had different conversations. But one final point, if you have a follow-up question, I would say this. I think that women should have equal rights when it comes to vying for leadership position in our country. I think that they're capable. I think that they have the tools necessary to be able to drive some sort of results. And in this case, if Yumli is one of the people that's being considered, in addition to other people, I think that it's only fair that we, provide a space where women can be able to lend their voices and the expertise towards, changing the direction of our country.
Sorry, I was muted. Duke, there's a trend I see here. I know Ellen picked Joseph Boakai. He was not an elected official, senator, or representative of anything. Georgia picked Julia Howard Taylor, who was an elected senator at the time. Then Waka, when he ran in 2017, paid Nukwe, somebody who was elected. I think he was senator or representative. I'm not sure. I think senator, right? And now thank you. And now we have Joseph Waka again, pick somebody who is a senator. And now the Roman year is that Cummings is looking the way of Youngbley, who is an elected official, senator in particular. So you see that for the most part, people are leaning to elected official. What is the calculation there? That these people were elected before, so they have a lot of people behind them? Because if you look at somebody like Simeon Freeman, he's not an elected official. Why are people not thinking about him? I'm not saying they should go there, but I'm just using him as an example. You don't see many people who are not elected officials, being sought after, for the vice presidential pick. What you think is that?
Well, I mean, I think there is a pattern, and other, political parties and other individuals who are vying for the presidency are bringing along people from, elected, positions. I understand that part. What I will say from the Cummings perspective is that the focal point here is about the hour of the ticket, right? The main person. I think that's where the conversation should be, regardless of who you bring in, the elected position, the elected officer. The person who's steering that ticket will be the one that will be, making a lot of decisions in terms of how we move the country forward. The question here is, amongst all of those people that are vying for the presidency, who's more qualified and competent to be able to steer our country in the right direction? And if even we're taking an elected official from, representative, senator, whatever it is, what type of guidance can that hour here provide for the person that they're running with, to be able to make sure that they are on the same page and they're actually implementing their agenda that should be, favorable to the people of Liberia. But I believe that, from the thought process of Mr. Cummings, it is mostly, not really about, bringing somebody from an elected position, but it is about how can I find, a candidate or somebody that can contest with me that will be able to buy into the type of leadership I'm bringing forth, the type of policies that we intend to insert to kickstart the economy. How can I be able to provide the type of expertise, the leadership that I have to guide that person? So in case my government or we need to rely on that person to be able to steer the affairs of the country, they will come in ready to assist in that process as well. So that's what I see from the Cummings perspective. From the boycott perspective, I think it is more political and votes targeting the Nimba County side. But as Dr. Pond said earlier, to me, I think it's a blunder because the situation in Nimba County is not cannot be compared to what it was in 2017. I think the scattered votes, I think there are too many individuals contesting in Nimba County that's going to take away from that. But overall, I do like the chances of Mr. Cummings, and I do see that regardless of who he picks to run with him, he's going to be the arrowhead, and he's going to make the right decision to drive the country economically to the right.
Thank you so very much. Robert, too many things happen with this decision made by Mr. Boakai. Costa was like a one-man soldier fighting for the Unity Party, for Boakai, I should say. All right, now he's unhappy. We know that he said he has asked Boakai to either pick him, and if he couldn't, Nyomli or Gonglo, and he will support such ticket. And the fact that he did not do that, he gone the other way, somebody that he Costa consider as person selling human parts, I don't know if he has evidence, he's not going to support the ticket. You can say whatever you want about Costa. This guy is a propagandist. If he goes after you, it's a take away from you. So now, more than likely, we can say Costa is now on that team until he decides officially, but that's what we know for now. The same can be said about Nyomli, DeLong, and others. Did Boakai help himself here or harm himself here? And is there an opportunity for either Gonglo or Cummings to capitalize?
Well, he did everything but help himself. I mean, it's explicit, right? I don't think that the decision helped him in any way, most especially on the message of change. I mean, weeks leading up to this announcement, surrogates of Joseph Boakai pushed the narrative about who they believe could deliver real change in our country. I've always had reservations about the Unity Party, given the fact that they had 12 years under Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, and what many would conclude as billions of dollars running through the corridors of our country uh, without meeting expectations, right? We understand they inherited a failed state, and I've argued that Ellen Johnson Sirleaf played an integral role in the Liberia she inherited in 2025. So I won't give her credit for that, right? So she understood the magnitude of what she inherited. But I've always had reservations. But beyond my reservations is when you have a former ruling party vying for the presidency on the message of change, then I think it's important that we look beyond just the experience of an elderly man and look to his judgment and his decision making. Look, I believe strongly that the older one gets, productivity declines, right? It doesn't mean that wisdom disappears, right? But there are things that, you may not be as sharp as you once were. There are things that you just can't do, right? And when you looked at Joseph Boakai politically, over all of the years he's been in public service, whenever you ask about the impact he's made based on his decision making process, his thought process, what can be shown of it is extremely limited, right? Let's look back to 2017. I believe that the pick essentially ended his bid, or was picking Nuki. Let's look at this pick. Remember,
and let me interrupt you, Robert. One could say that, well, you can say that, but that election was we had to win. Unity Party was very unpopular at the time. So we was going to win either way. So who could Joe Boakai have picked to help him win the election? The result, that the margin was so wide.
Look, if you go on the field, everyone goes to a game with an intention to win, right? Even if you feel like your competitor has an edge over you, you want to make sure that you are preparing yourself to at least compete. The decision that he made was clear that he did not want to compete, and that was questionable. Let's look at this decision right now. Look, George Weah and the CDC government have a lot of questions to answer. They have not done what the pro
and Robert, if I can push further, the decision of Nukwe then and the fact that Joe Boakai didn't have Ellen, which one you think, as we know, actually costing the election? Was it the VP pick or the fact that he didn't have Ellen?
Well, he didn't have Ellen due to many factors that some of us can't really speak to right now, because we don't want to get a lot of folks in trouble, right? But the information we've been privy to, it's clear that he didn't listen. Look, there were different propositions made as to who they thought his VP pick could be, given his age factor. I'll throw in an example. Amara Conan was suggested directly from the former president. And the strategy here was, look, you are getting old, and it's a strong possibility that you may not be able to complete a 6-year term. So who do you think is more comfortable as far as leadership-wise, experience, international connection, to pass the torch? Joseph Boakai did not listen. But beyond Joseph Boakai not listening, though, is what has he done beyond what happened in 2017 to bridge the gap? Joseph Boakai had an opportunity to really unite the CPP when he was elected chairman of the CPP, and all of the internal dysfunction was going through. He had the opportunity as the elder in the room to say, look, guys, come together. Everyone put aside your egos. Come in the room and let's solve this thing internally. He missed that opportunity. What did he do? He threw in the white towel. What did he do? Even though he was summoned by the government, he became a regime collaborator, to basically go in court and say, look, I've known this man for over 30 years in person of Alice Cummings, but I don't know what that man understand right now. Right?
And Robert, fair point there, but that has happened now. Now is up to Cummings and Tier 1 to look in the field of people who may have interest and pick a candidate. If people are saying that Waka Pig is not good enough, then what can Cummings possibly do? I'm talking about opportunity and opening. Do they have it? And will they go for it? Do they have it in them to do so?
Well, look, I've always said that Cummings. Look, I know the guy, right? I know the guy so well. I worked with him in Atlanta. He was on our advisory council board. I speak in the capacity of former vice president of our Liberian community here that consists of over 22,000 people, the youngest, by the way. And I know him. I know that Cummings does not want to become president because he wants to erase himself. I've always said, in a poor country like Liberia, I don't think public service is for very poor people. Because when you are very poor and you've not had the opportunity to live the kind of lifestyle that you want to live, what you think about is basically catching up, right? I don't think Cummings wants to steal from us. I think he has great intentions. But I think some of the decisions he's made are also questionable. But I think he has a unique opportunity right now to do two things. Select a VP pick that represent his own core values. That's one. Two, he has an opportunity right now to do what Joseph Bloc did not do. And I would not be mad at Cummings if Cummings was able to bring the Liberty Party together, one, and if he decides to pick Yomi Kanga Lawrence as his running mate. As a Bassa boy, I've always had reservations about what Yomi Kanga Lawrence has given back to the people of Bassa as opposed to the trust they've reposed in her. But I strongly believe, even when I'm sleeping, Dennis, Yomi Kanga Lawrence will be a far better VP pick than Jeremiah Cohn, especially given his close proximity to a criminal, and I'm not going to mess my words with this, or killer in person of Prince Johnson. I do not trust that ticket has what it takes to move the economy. I do not trust that. Look, imagine if Jeremiah Cohn becomes the next president of Liberia. Where is his international connection? The international community already looking at that ticket as troubling. I'm telling you right now. Look, let me stop, but let me say this.
Yeah, Robert, let me
right now. Homie has an opportunity right now to essentially be the opposition leader, given who he picks as his running mate, and we'll look forward to that pick.
Thank you. Let me come to Dr. Kwanando. Dr. Kwanando, Jawon Gonglo, everybody agree has an excellent, and reputable name, given the way he lived his life and served us publicly. Tipote was one of such person who contested. Liberians never had a problem with Tipote because of bad character. They never elected him. So is Gonglo, and I see him making all the efforts. How will a vice president to Gonglo be of any help here? And where would that vice president come from? Because he has this good name. Good name doesn't sell well in Liberian politics. For the most part, I can say. We know Edwin Snow, he got elected all the time. And other people that got elected, and good people contested, and it didn't happen. So the idea of a vice president might be a plus to come. Gonglo is what I'm looking for. Do you think it will? And what would that be, or where would that come from? Please help us. Dr. Doe.
I think he's frozen.
Yes.
It's kind of
I'm not sure he's here. Yeah, he's speaking, but we can't hear him. Dr. Doe, we can hear you. That's the thing with the phone. So that same question, I will pull it to Comrade Paul. Paul, I think you heard my question.
Yes. Thank you very much for the question.
Mm-hmm.
I hold the standard bearer in high esteem, and I know the judgments he has made in the past have been very good, and I have no reservation that this time he will continue to make a good judgment in selecting a good vice standard bearer. Where he or she will come from, I'm not sure yet.
When you
Perhaps
say vice standard bearer, does that mean that person is going to come from LPP? Because that person can be vice standard bearer if the person comes from another party, isn't it?
let's say the vice president,
Okay.
vice president nominee.
Okay.
I don't know the answer yet, but he's coming to visit us, Dr. Kwan said, sometime this week or next week. There we may get more information, but I'm definitely sure that it may have by now short list of people.
And the thing, Paul, is that many people believe Gonglo started late. If you are late, if that is true at all, why is he still playing the late game? You know, Waka has to decide his VP, and then he's yet to do so. When you are coming from behind, you want to come with speed. Is he too careful here, and that might cost him?
No, he's been strategic. You know, you say he came late, so he's taking his time.
So being strategic is, well, let Waka pick, and then from what is left, I can pick, because Waka is the goal here. What is the
not
step?
really. For Waka, I really wanted to say I appreciate that he did. He stood out to be the first to do it because it's been long time. So we were not with him. The council not with him for Waka or any other person, but because he came late, he been careful, he been strategic to select.
All right. There are people who say that money might be an issue for Tier 1. Waka pay Kun, some people say one of the reasons is money, that Kun has money. Also, numbers from Nimba County. What are the things Gonglo is looking for that will add value, juice, and weight to the ticket? Will it be money and vote, and where those things will come from? From whom? Help us.
Integrity too. Integrity. Somebody who thinks like him, who has the desire to eradicate corruption or to minimize corruption in Liberia. Somebody who has a different vision to carry Liberia forward. Of course, money plays a vital role in politics, and money could be a part. Number also is important. We explained to you as the last brother who spoke. NEMA it's not a place to depend on number anymore because the votes are being fragmented. They got some running to be president, and no citizens of NEMA who don't want to choose a vice president; they want to choose a president. So Congo might be their choice. So I suspect that overwhelmingly the people of NEMA, considering the character of Gonglo and his international connections and his experience, they might want to choose him. So if VP Boakan has chosen Senator Coon because of number, then I think it's wrong.
Thank you. Dr. Kwan, let me come to you. I'm sure you heard my question, except that we couldn't hear you all now. He's having connection issue again. So I'll come to the LVP, USA Secretary General, Mr. Zoga here. Let me hear you. You heard my question concerning Gonglo pick for VP and how in any way that would be of any help to him.
I think all of the political parties, we need to do the Liberian people a justice. We need to be patriotic. If you look at past records of voters in our country, women are between 49 to 50%. Between 49 to 50% of the women populace are eligible voters. And no matter what your campaign may call for, we need to have a cross representation of the country.
All right.
That comes to where your government should be inclusive, where you might have more women as well as men. We also know far back our socio-economic reasons, or what you call other things that were addressed. We found out that women, children, they suffer a lot when it comes to, denial of rights, other people being denied of social injustice and all of that. And so as the result of that, women who will be able to speak against these things must be a part of your government. So we can do the Liberian people if we pick our vice president or running mate to be a woman, and a credible woman as well, and someone who also will promote your agenda, and a lady who also.
You're sounding a little more definite here. You're preaching gender balance, so to speak. Are you suggesting that Gonglo will have to pick a woman? Is that a party decision?
Oh yes, that's what we believe in. That's what the Liberian People's Party believe in. That is our belief. We believe that the rights should be for all, no matter of your color, no matter of race. Once you become a member of the political party, or even if you are not a member of our political party, once you are a qualified Liberian, we believe that you should be able to benefit from what we preach. So we feel
that
a
short list of the women that you are talking to as a party for possible VP pick.
I didn't get that question.
Give us a short list of possible Liberian women that have been talked to right now for a VP pick from LPP.
Oh, that is our trump card. We cannot come up ready to tell you where we got a short list of this number of women that we will
breaking news here, man.
Very soon we're going to come up with what our running.
But do you at least have a short list? Don't give it to us, but do you have it?
We do have, and we are looking at that list, but preferably we want to pick a woman to be our running mate, because we believe that our government should have a representation of the country. Yes.
That is juicy. Mr. Nangbe, you heard him, and he's saying that that person must be a woman. There are a lot of good Liberian women out there. But the question I posed to do earlier with the trend, somebody who is an elected official. And so when you look at the women elected officials in Liberia now, Nyomli Ning comes to mind. She is the darling for now. You might be in a competition with, or Cummins might be in a competition with Gonglo here, I suppose. What do you see?
Well, that is possible. And for full disclosure here, my wife is a daughter of Nimba.
Okay.
So the Nimba people are my in-laws. I know Councilor Gonglo personally and very well. But yes, I agree with you that Mr. Cummins could have a competition on his hands as in reference to Councilor Lawrence. But again, I believe Robert pointed out his lit entry into the game, and that on that level, he might also be a little bit lit to the game as to, well, I'm assuming based on the public information out there. I know Mr. Cummins, his team has met Councilor Lawrence. I am not sure if Councilor Gonglo's people have done so. So in that way, I would say again, it might be a little bit behind, a step behind. But I agree with the previous speakers that I think Councilor Gonglo has a little bit more uphill task relative to Mr. Cummins, because I think that the argument is which of them will, is at an advantage. One, Councilor Gonglo would have depended on the number of votes, but as we all agree now, that vote now has been so fragmented. I'm not sure who is in a better position now to claim that vote. The other factor against him is that maybe if we were looking at the 2017 elections, we would have said he probably presents the best choice on the scene because of his record of service He's an upstanding guy. You know, he is known to champion the cause of the ordinary man. But again, that claim does not belong to him and just him alone now. I mean, Mr. Cummings comes with a resume of service, which is admirable. I've heard people say, yes, he may not have any experience in government, but I believe, you know, managing any organization, it could be government or a private organization or one as big as Coca-Cola. I think that is requisite experience enough. So I will venture to say Councillor Gongo, I believe, has a little bit more work to do in terms of his vice presidential pick as opposed to Mr. Cummings. Dr. Ma indicated some of the qualities that we look for in the vice president to complement where the president may have some weaknesses. And I absolutely agree with that. One of those things I believe that could complement the presidential, the principle would be the vice president's constituency and not just the landmass they represent, but their appeal, you know, their people's skills. And the second will be resources, finance.
And let now pivot to the whole issue of collaboration. The collaboration thing was attractive. It was giving hope to a lot of Liberians. The CPP is that shining example. Yes. We can all agree it was tried, it worked, effectively against the CDC, and then poops, it disappeared. Yeah. And the idea about a collaboration now is not as tasteful as it was. In fact, of recent, the political leader of the movement for what the name is, Simeon Freeman, all right, the MPC political leader, he said that from All Education Coalition is now working for Liberia, and that Liberians should focus on individual candidates or individual tickets and their platform and see what they can deliver, because he argued that if you have the collaboration of competing interests when they form a government, there'll be so much chaos.
Yeah.
Is it making sense here? And does it mean that the whole collaboration thing is not going to help? And is that not good for President we are here or the CDC?
I would have to agree in some part with Mr. Freeman. The ideal collaboration for the opposition will be the ideal. But it is appearing to be a mirage now, given the number of blows that the effort, has suffered. Plus, I believe it is becoming too time consuming, and thus walking down the candidates as opposed to freely getting out in the field to go and campaign. We would like to see a unified opposition. I believe when the opposition is united, that is not a good day for the president. It is a good day for the opposition. But I also understand if the ideal is not attainable, then we have to forge ahead, because time wasted in trying to forge a collaboration could also work to the advantage of the incumbent who is already out there and shaking hands. So yes, I believe we should keep one eye on the possibility of collaboration, but I think we should also move ahead and do what has to be done as time is running out.
And Doug,
Ansony, can I butt in a little bit before we go too far? I wanted to comment on some of the questions you've already asked. And what's passing now as a consensus, because one of us didn't attach to it. Number one, calling a decision to pick a VP as being late. If you remember the last 3 presidential elections, none of the VP was selected before July. I think the earliest a VP had been selected in the last 3 presidential elections was in July. So, and we're in May right now, so it is not late. And even if at a point it seems to be late, it will be better to take your own time and do it right than to be kind of compelled forward by some kind of artificial time restriction. So I don't think it is late yet. And the other 2 candidates are taking their time to make sure when they make their decisions, it's going to be the right one. The other thing about collaboration, not being a good thing. Well, if you just join the race and when they count the top 5 people or 6 people, you're not in it. Or when they're talking about collaboration, they're not calling your party. Yeah, you can have a press conference and say collaboration doesn't work. But it is not that collaborations don't work. It is the way the collaborations have been done in Liberia that is the problem. For example, Councillor Gonglo has said, hey, we can collaborate with anybody, but let's do it based on principles, right? If you want to collaborate, let's do it based on principle, not just based on popularity or not just based on political calculation, because that's how it's been done. It's always
and has he acted on the words? Because the issue of collaboration, there's this saying that's apparent, and I'm going to come to Duke after you here, that 2 hands is a common Liberian saying, 2 hands, I mean, 2 heads are better than 1. I would say
two good heads are better than 1.
Are better than 1, right? Yeah. So he is saying it should be based on principles. He has to act it. I'm not sure everybody in Liberia. So who is he working with now for collaboration if he thinks that way?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why it's probably taking a little bit more time than usual, because the way he's trying to do it is not the usual way, but we believe is the best way. So it's taking some time, and like I said,
and so what is that way? What is that way that he's doing it? Share that with us. What is that way?
Principle. Okay, let me give you an example. It's still, let's say, what if somebody wants to collaborate with me, right? And you ask, okay, what do you think?
What is saying here that the was learning it from you? Is there a framework out here, or is this thing being done in secrecy?
No. I was about to give it to you.
Go ahead.
Okay, if anybody wants to collaborate with him, it's like, okay, what do you think are the top 5 critical problems in Liberia today? If we were to win, what would be the top 5 things we work on, right? If you and I can agree that these are the top 5 things we'll work on, then we collaborate, because it even doesn't matter which one of us is president or not president. We both agree that when we win, these are the top 5 things we will work on, right?
Thank you.
So if the collaboration is done that way, it will work. But if it's done any other way, then of course the people have competing objectives, and that's why it doesn't work.
So until he finds those people, or the LPP finds those people that agree with you in principles, no conversation at this time. Duke, let me come to you.
No conversations are going on. But
okay, thank you. Yeah, Duke, the thing is that Mr. Cummings is the chairman of this. I mean, Sieh is the political leader of the CPP. And Mr. Cummings has indicated, and many of you, that you are going to grow the CPP. We have not heard much yet in terms of growth. Now there is this opportunity now to bring people together, to increase the chances of the ANC. You go into convention, we have not heard anything big yet. What you have now is enough to prepare you to victory? I'm still talking collaboration here.
So, I mean, I'm glad we came back to this point, because I wanted to correct the fact that the CPP stays is. What happens is that you had, few members who felt that they needed to go another route, that exited. But in the upcoming days, I think, we should be able to see additional traction. Now, in terms of growth, I think the CPP has been growing. You saw the announcement of the Team Commons campaign team. Those were members, right, or individuals that were brought on board that weren't part of the initial CPP arrangement. There have been talks for other political parties to actually join the movement as well. But, as it stands, I think on the back end and actually in the public eye, there's been, key individuals that have been brought to this fold of the collaboration as well. Talking about propelling us into, the presidency as well, just as I said the other day, and I'll continue to say, a single VP candidate is not going to, be the deciding factor, in terms of who wins the election.
I agree.
What's going to put you in the position to win an election is based upon the kind of work you're doing, right? On using a baseline, your structures, and all of those things across the county. And this is why when I came back, I remained confident. I became even more confident of the work that the collaboration is doing across the different counties. I had opportunities not to sit in Monrovia, but to go to the Big Six key counties and assess the structure of the ANC, the CPP in those regions. And I was impressed by the way in which they're layered across those counties. Their work that needs to be done. Yes, so every political party has got their own challenges. But I think the way in which the concept they're using to be able to bring people on board and reach out to voters is going to pay a huge dividend as well. Another thing that has been the mobilization, and in which I was actually fortunate to lead the mobilization aspect over the past couple of months. And I've seen the kind of work that these people have done in different districts, in different communities, in different counties to be able to bring people within the the database that we're creating.
And Duke, all that is good, but I don't want you to forget about the Liberty Party division. Now that this opportunity presents itself, as they fought out with the Yombly wings of the Liberty Party, Cummings has an opportunity now, to unite the Liberty Party. I think it would be in his political best interest to do so. Many are accusing Bouaka that when he had the opportunity as being head of the CPP, after he promised that, well, when I return to Monrovia, I will make sure the internal wranglings are resolved. He was on BBC. I listened to that very beautiful interview. He went. It didn't happen. Will Cummings play Bouaka here, or will he play the leader of many of you in the ANC claim he actually is? Now you call him a fixer. So let him fix the Liberty Party conundrum, then we'll know he's ready.
So the fixer will remain the fixer, and Cummings will be Cummings. What he has done continuously is to provide leadership. Ansony, let's go back to the CPP. This man faced some of the toughest challenges when he was leading that collaboration. Intentionally, people within that particular arrangement, did things right, politically, to their advantage, hoping that they were going to find a way to rattle him. But he stayed the course, and actually under his leadership, with all the chaos that we saw in the collaboration, he led the collaboration to not only a win but a massive win, something that hasn't been recorded by any collaboration in our nation's history as well. I trust Mr. Cummings' judgment. I believe that he understands the essence of institutions and the value that it brings when it comes to not only the general election, but our body politics as well. I do believe that the Liberty Party issues should continue to be, dealt with by people within the Liberty Party. I think that the Liberty Party should be able to understand their own disagreements and address those things that actually kept them apart. But I believe that Mr. Cummings will continue to play the leadership role that he continues to play throughout his time as a potential, president, the next president of the Republic of Liberia. And I think in this case, there will be some kind of solution. Now, let me go a little further here, Ansony. I don't think that the issue in the Liberty Party is as big enough to ignore the essence of why we're trying to be, rescue our people. The most important conversation here is that 5 million people in Liberia are yearning for some sort of leadership. 5 million people in Liberia see that the way administration has been nothing but let down to them. And those 5 million people are looking for hope and optimism when it comes to leadership, when it comes to the person that will be able to, take that country in the direction.
The very hope the Liberian people were looking for from the CPP that Mr. Cummings has been part of, that got divided. There is an opportunity for him to add. You say, well, he will leave it with the Liberty Party. He will play a leadership role. You've been diplomatic. Yeah, this is to his political interest to do so, and because he has Musa there. Musa is his partner politically.
Ansony,
yes.
Yeah, Ansony, I went across the country. I engaged Liberians in the market. Trust me. I stayed hours in Douala Market, went to red light talking to people, right? And yes, Liberians became a little frustrated that the initial arrangement did not hold. But they remain optimistic that Mr. Cummings is going to be there to be able to drive a new narrative, right? Okay. This is why I believe. I know where you're trying to put me, and I know what's unfolding.
And I want you to be direct.
I will try to be cautious in terms of how I address things because we want to be careful and just allow things to play itself out. But I do know that what's unfolding is going to redefine the opposition bloc. what's unfolding is going to chapter a new course in terms of how we approach the 2023 election. And I have no doubt that when it is done, Mr. Cummings is going to be the leading face of the opposition political party, and that could happen in hours from now or possibly in a day or so.
And do something. Give me a short answer here.
Yeah,
real quickly.
Give me a short answer here. I don't want your other colleagues to be waiting that long.
Yeah.
You don't have that much agreement with Costa. All right. It is in ANC best interest to work with who they can work with. You have shown that. The team comments you talk about, Macintosh, what's his name? All these people, Liberian people, complain about them, right? And well, you say you're building a big tent. Can Costa be part of that thing? You and him don't get along too much politically. Are you prepared to work with him?
Anthony, this is not a Duke thing. This is not about what I prefer. This is about the Republic of Liberia and those who are making the decisions. We're building a big tent, and whatever we need to do to make sure that we're rescuing our country, if it sides with the values that we have, will do. Now, it doesn't mean that I stop, holding on to my values, right, in the name of politics. But I do believe there are rooms for everybody on the CPP train, headed by Mr. Cummings. And I do believe that everybody who's got the interest of the Liberian people can be on board. This is why, quickly speaking, we have always been pushing this argument that the only candidate that we should be looking at in the opposition bloc or on the opposition bloc is Mr. Cummings. And I hope that everybody understands that this is the way forward, and we'll see some alignment as, the days go by.
Thank you. Rabo, I saw you anxious to jump in there. Doug is talking about Big Tent, talking about Team Cummings that was put together. And he's also talking about, real change. Talk to me about that. Do you see this real change thing being, demonstrated by Mr. Cummings based on his decisions he's made?
Well, no, I won't be honest if I said definitive yes. No, absolutely not. I think that a part of some of us who knows the man, some of our frustration is that in some instances he has contradicted himself with regards to real change, right? I look, I would have respected comments had he not gone to bed with the same character he questioned in 2017. People like Joseph Boakai, people like Ben Urey, right? I vividly remember the interview Ben and Urey did when he said to Cummings then, we are coming after you. And it was done indirectly, and Cummings was on that, and later on Ben and Urey came after Cummings. And I think Cummings has shown some sort of others might describe it differently, but some desperation to try to win or do what he needs to do to try to win the next election. When you looked at Louis Brown,
to that point, they are saying yes, Cummings is desperate to change Liberia, so whoever he can work with, he can do so. Does that make sense to you?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Dukes just spoke about holding on to what your core values are. This is the reason why I'm called from a club where I don't believe in just political collaborations that focuses on one objective, which is to win the next election. If these political parties really do believe that they have something in common, something fundamental, and something based on core values and the issues and things like that, then they should be willing to compete into one political system. I'm not saying we should have one or two, three political parties, but look at how many political parties we have in our country right now. And one of these parties don't have what it takes to win the election. Even the CDC had to collaborate, right? And so I think that Cummings he's made some decisions that are questionable. Now, with regards to the growth of the CPP, my only disappointment here is that they have not done much to really open and create a competitive space. I'm not sure what the blueprint actually is. I'm not sure what the formal agreement is, but the way the CPP is structured right now is exactly part of the reason why the ANC did not feel like they were treated fairly within the original CPP. Cummings was an advocate for going to the primaries. He was an advocate for
competition.
Going to a convention, making his case and allowing members of the CPP to have that say so at a primary or at a convention. Well, what did he do when the Unity Party and the other guys left? He created an environment where he basically said to other prospective collaborator, look, you can come all you want, but be sure that when you come, the only space to compete for you is the number 2 spot, which is the VP spot. You don't create an environment that you once advocated against, once you are now the god in a space. But look, we're talking about Liberia here. And I don't say that lightly, because I don't believe that we should hold different values when it comes to Liberia. Like, I don't believe that, we should go and park our cars and pee in the streets, right? Because those are things we can't do in America. I don't believe we should litter, right? Throw trash in the streets. Those are things we know will be held accountable for if we were to do them in America. So when we talk about Liberia and what is right, what the best democratic process, I think that when you say what you say, you should mean what you say, and you should follow that up with some actions. However, I do think that Cummings still have a chance yet, Duke, Ansony. I think he has a chance to really turn things around. But his decision-making process has not always been crispy, has not always been clear, and to some extent have left some of us scratching our heads.
And finally, if the Liberty Party, hold on, and finally, if the Liberty Party is not united going into the elections behind, let's say, a Cummings ticket, would that be one of the biggest, failure on Mr. Cummings' part? Because this is a leadership test. Walker has gone now. He has decided his ticket. He's gone, but the Liberty Party is still there. If he does not unite the Liberty Party behind himself, and it remains divided, can he be, can people say, well, he missed an opportunity to increase his chances? Can people say that?
Well, yes, absolutely. But I think that if he picks Senator Lawrence, I think that essentially, unites the Liberty Party, because you have the Musability branch, which already support Cummings. And then you have the Senator Lawrence's branch, right? Who have been heavily leaning towards supporting Joseph Walker till his VP pick was made, right? And then you also have the Henry Costa and ALP factor, Euro factor. I think the question Cummings must contend with now is, can he really trust Miss Lawrence? The political strategy part is one thing. She brings something to the table, right? But given all of what has happened, can you really trust a Ben Ayure? Can you really trust? Look, it reminds me of a situation where you now have a girlfriend, a girl who basically would not have chosen you if the other guy would have asked her to marry, right? And then now she's not coming over and she's open to this proposal of being engaged to you, right? For a spectacular marriage. Look, can he really trust these folks? I think Cummings is in a position right now where he can not only unite the Liberty Party, I think he's in a position right now where he has to put aside his own personal ego, put the Liberian people's interests first, and say, look, I have to strategically make some decisions with regards to who I need to work with in the interest of our people, while still maintaining what I stand for, my core values and my integrity, not compromise. I think it's very
Robert.
Ansony, I think Ansony, quickly speaking, there was something said. If I can provide clarity
that way, we do have sell it that way, but Du's been diplomatic because he feared that if it doesn't work, he doesn't want. Because I expect Du to say, look, I stand right here and I tell him, Mr. Cummings, to do everything to unite the Liberty Party. That's how I believe a supporter of somebody should speak, because it's a plus when that happens. But
Ansony, I'm privy to information that restricts me from going forward in terms of what you're expecting.
You are your own man. You are a Liberian.
No. What I was saying,
give a disclaimer, dude. Come on, bro.
Listen, Ansony, what I would say, right? Give us a couple of days, and there will be clarity. Now, quickly for Robert Gagwa, whenever you say you question decision making of Mr. Cummings, sometimes I just think that it's just words being used. you don't question the decision of a man who was basically attacked by political wolves, made the smartest decision, survived, right, that environment, kept the CPP. And pretty soon, it's going to be evident that some of the people who fled that original arrangement may possibly be back in fold as part of that particular arrangement. So what happens
now you
then?
are letting the cat
Do you
out of the bag,
continue?
Joe.
Do you continue to criticize his decision making? I think he's been brilliant in terms of his decision making. He may not have been the type of politician that you wanted him to be. He's not a politician, by the way, but I think he's been calculative. He's been very smart, and some of the things that he did is going to pay dividend. That's all I.
But you know what? As in 30 seconds,
Look,
I initially wanted to respond in a very harsh way.
30 seconds.
Duke says something. Duke says something at the end that I'm going to go easy. He says something, and I want him to ponder on this. Cummings was attacked by political wolves. The question Cummings must contend with now: is he willing to re-engage and work with political wolves?
And Duke said
it's too late.
Yes.
Listen to me. I think you're making a mistake because he has always been doing what he needed to do. And you know what? I know what Ansony is pushing for here.
Thank you. That's my word. That's what I do. I need to push you until you give me something. I don't want to be unfair to these panelists. Mr. Nangwe, let me get out of the way.
I know what he's fishing for.
Mr. Nangwe.
Yes.
Yeah, quickly, your take on what.
No, I was going to remind Robert. I like his posture. I think criticism is good. I think he should continue to criticize Mr. Cummings' decision-making process. But I have to remind him. I think what he's advocating is chaos, leaving a collaboration wide open. I think this is what got us where we are today with Mr. Boakai leaving, Mr. Ure leaving, and anybody could come in and leave at any time. Also, I think leaving it wide open is what led to the frustration that people like Henry Costa are feeling today, Senator Lawrence are feeling today, because nobody said anything.
Mr. Cummings advocated for a competition.
I'm talking about democratic policy.
The level playing field to compete and let the best win
at the convention.
But you see, we
tried that, and
go ahead.
Now that we tried that, we saw the chaos that it leads to. Everyone has a learning moment, so we self-correct, and now we say, okay, in order to forestall any future chaos, this is how we're going to collaborate. And let me quickly, end on this. Collaboration doesn't necessarily have to mean that the three biggest parties in the country should collaborate. I mean, we can collaborate with other well-meaning smaller parties, some of whom would not even be fielding candidates. It's not always about the quantity. Yes, election is numbers, I agree, but we're also looking qualitative collaboration. Now, the other guys left the CPP, Mr. Cummings stayed. Where are they? They went and found what? The DAL. Where is the DAL today? Not only that, even the fragment of the DAL has been further integrated. You have the Costa going this way, you have Ure going that way, you have Dillon going this way, you have Lawrence going this way. So I think if we have to be honest here, I think Mr. Cummings has stayed the course. He has been the one who has been consistent in keeping the CPP united.
And quickly, Ansony, I'll take you 10 seconds. Just because other people left the CPP does not mean that the CPP ended. What we're still using, right, is a blueprint from the original CPP arrangement. So when the other people left, there's an agreement that Mr. Cummings that he will be the face of the collaboration. I see nothing wrong with that.
The structure have changed though. The document structure has changed.
Yeah, the document has changed, and I agree with you, Robert. And I read the document. It's closed the door.
But not fingered.
At the top. And
not fingered.
let me come to
Bring Walker back to contest a primary then.
Yeah, let me come to Mr. Zuga. Mr. Zuga, while we are just discussing and analyzing at Mr. Cummings, the same opportunity is there for Mr. Ganglo. I know that Okwan tried to talk about principles here and there. We talk about two good heads are better than one. The Liberty Party is a good head politically when we're talking about numbers, right? So here is that opportunity. Is Ganglo and the LPP gonna act, or are you gonna play your usual thing? Well, let's look for good people. We'll talk to our people, and whatever happens. Or are you gonna be more proactive here? And we're boss.
we're going to be proactive in reverse, as you have said. But here is the thing. Our standard bearer continued to say that, look, I don't want to be a president for the nation. I want to be a project manager. Now, I'd like to come back to Comrade Robert. Do you think Senator Lawrence Kanga can show trustability at this time to now have a marriage of convenience with comments and ability? Do you know that former Chief Justice Gloria Scott's daughter who got killed, there is this speculation that because she was defending the Liberty Party on one side, that's the reason why the government went after her? There's that speculation, allegedly. All right.
Yeah, please use that word alleged because we don't have the facts.
I know that I have credible sources. Can you trust this gentleman, or because you want political power? We continue to say, look, we are not going to fool the Liberian people. See the kind of crime our people have received. See the kind of the kind of suffering that have been melted against our people today. We will be proactive. We are proactive now. We are willing to take to get any opportunity to make sure that the Liberian people get the best out of us. But we are not going to get a marriage with any political party who does not have the view with us. Now, the reason why you see most of these selection of vice president or other political parties having marriage with other political party orbiting around, the Liberian People's Party. I don't want to have to do anything with it because we are very straightforward to the point. We know there is one thing that can free the Liberian people. The reasons why we have the 15 years of civil crisis in our country, the documents that there, we are ready to implement that document. And all these political parties are shying away from that. That's the reason why they continue to get marriage with another political party or with another group that will not help to implement this document that is the only solution to Liberian problem.
And let me follow on that. You're raising a good point there, and I think it points to messaging too. Yep. So from your side, the team Tier 1 and LPP, how do you interpret this decision by Mr. Bwaka by picking somebody suggested to him by Prince Johnson? Prince Johnson has been sanctioned, and according to the sanction, the ambassador said that, look, these individuals have been sanctioned. Anybody seen doing business with them, themselves risk will be sanctioned.
Yeah.
So that presents an opportunity. So how is Team Gonglo going to use this message to inform the Liberian people?
So Vice President, former Vice President Joseph Boyka has got the right to get his standing or his running mate. And when I was on the show the other time, I gave an analysis on this, and guys begin to say, well, is that what you guys feel? Unfortunately, he has made a decision that is counterproductive to the Liberian people. Given that, at the end of that, if we go to elections tomorrow, and there is a runner-up, and we have to support a political party, and he becomes the second runner, well, we're getting to that marriage because what? We want to move this dictator. President George Bush must not have the second term. That is the goal of all the political parties. But his pick,
even though you fear that should Bwaka win, the TRC recommendations might not be implemented because Prince Johnson is behind the curtains pressing buttons for Bwaka, right?
Yes. So our view is that his pick has two impacts: a short-term positive impact and a long-term negative impact on our country. I think one of the speakers said about that. The first positive impact, let me discuss the negative impact I said. And one of the speakers spoke to that. Well, I just want to go briefly into that. We know this gentleman who handpicked Jeremiah Cohn has been sanctioned by the United States, our very good friend, the world powerful nation. No matter how Liberians feel about it, go out and say this. This is the world powerful nation who can tell your president, look, you come here and we'll be done with that, and that's it. We know that we know the issues about President Nicaragua from North America when he was invited by the CIA. That is another thing to know. America is a world powerful nation. Okay, so that is the first thing. The second thing is we will be disconnected from the international community. We know that. The third thing is, again, this document would not be implemented because why? Here is the handpick of a godfather, and indeed it's going to be a conflict of interest. He can put bread in your mouth, and then you persecute him. The law says what you benefit from, you cannot fight, no matter what happens. Prince Johnson, or how do you call it, Omer Boyka can never implement. He will not. I told them, I bet you my head, Boyka will not implement the TRC recommendation because what you benefit from the law says you cannot fight. He cannot fight Prince Johnson after he has promoted you. Now, the positive impact that it has is that we know that the Unity Party is the biggest opposition party now. And so if they come second place, we want the dictator of this country who have, the level of crime in our country have culminated to the point that, it's untold. You cannot, it's beyond the reasoning of him. And so we can have that marriage.
You believe that is beyond the alleged atrocity committed by Prince Johnson? So you'll be making Prince Johnson a de facto president because is that bad? Is that what I'm hearing?
Sir, let's get to yes, I can say that because one other thing again, the crime committed which the world is holding him, these crimes were committed during war. And of course, he had to make use of the international laws that are for wars. Whenever you arrest someone who is surrendered to you, you don't have to kill him and all of that. So that's why he is going to be judged for. At this time, it was war, and he did that for a reason best known to him. But again, he was breaching international law. But here is a normal government. Here is a normal situation where there is no war. And you grab two auditors and kill them because they came and auditor your government and have the facts with them. Here, agents of your security took guns and shot a young man which Prince Johnson alluded to, and then you come out and say, well, this man shot himself. This is beyond the understanding of him. These are crimes. The crimes that have been committed at this time in normal time is beyond the understanding of us. So this dictator have to move. So we can have that marriage with the biggest political party and urge him. And then
Ansony, just quickly, I want to insert. I'm not sure what makes the Unity Party the biggest political party. I think that's just all the politics of it. But I do believe that the goal here is to make sure we're doing all we can to remove the Weah administration, right? But not just because of people who think they have this kind of entitlement to leadership. It is about making sure that the right person, right, replaces George Weah. I think that's the most important part to all of this, and not just because of biggest political party or entitlement to leadership.
Thank you. With that, we'll take a short break, and we'll come back. We'll be looking at two trending political issues. Gentlemen, we will be right back. Stay tuned, folks.
Labira, God
folks, you heard it there, that God gave us this country, Liberia, and we have a responsibility to make it better, not only for ourselves, but for our young ones and for those coming after our young ones. 3 political issues that are trending, and I want you guys to weigh in. We are talking about Sieh, who is the pro tem for the Liberian Senate, going after U.S. Ambassador McCarthy. The U.S. ambassador traveled across the nation, Liberia, and he gave a report in which he said many things, one of which he said money being appropriated in the 2022 budget have not reached the hospitals. He used the word penny, that those hospitals have not received penny, and these are hospitals, that should be providing care for our people. And he said many things, but Sieh is saying, whoa. The ambassador here, he's up to something here during the political season. The way he speaks, the way he writes these things, he's doing it in the advantage of the opposition. He lambasted him, and he said he's meddling in Liberian politics. While we have that on the menu, the speaker, Buffer Chambers from the CDC, was seen in Maryland County with brand new banknotes right in front of him, dishing it out to citizens in that county. As you well know, election season is right around the corner. He's from the CDC, Sieh is from the CDC, and then another member of the CDC, the head in this particular case, President, the proper president, he travels to London. King Charles is being coronated to be King of England, and the proper president will not miss any opportunity to travel on the taxpayer dollars. While the ambassador is crying that money is not reaching hospitals, the president said, well, I have to travel and be part of that occasion, and wherever I sleep, it will cost me $1,700. That is the proper president making such a decision. Folks, I want to get your take on each of these trending political issues, and many others are also responding to the ambassador's statement. Representative Swakoko Dennis said, whoa. Don't put all of us in the same box. I've been raising a lamb. The money you're talking about now, all of us eating the money. Does she have an argument here? Gentlemen, let us start with Comrade Paul from the Team Tier 1 camp. What is going on here? You heard me, and you heard me loud and clear. 3 issues.
Yes.
Trending.
Thank you. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
What's going on is that it's a diversion from the ambassador comment. The ambassador accused or expressed his view that money is not reaching to the hospital. I mean, no medications, doctors are not being paid, nurses are not being paid. If they have been paid, not on time. And the speaker came and said, hey, this is opposition politics. No. The comment he made did not dispute the ambassador's assertions. So I think Speaker Sieh should go back and take the ambassador point and say, hey, yes, you went to,
does he not have a point?
Maryland.
This is an ambassador meddling, according to Sieh, in our domestic politics. Is what an ambassador is supposed to do, to get involved in the day-to-day politics of the country? Is that why he's doing it? Don't you think Sieh has a point here?
Sieh may have a point, but it's not right, because those projects are financed by the ambassador's country. So if you spend money, you should know how. If you give money to somebody, you should know how you spend. So the ambassador is doing his work, right? The ambassador is doing his work. That's what the ambassadors do.
The government came out with a clarification that the ambassador did not state the facts accurately. They said that the money the ambassador talking about being budgeted, those monies are being directed to the hospitals, and the ambassador could have just asked them, and they will have provided the record or stated the facts to him, and that the ambassador is assuming. So who you want to believe here? Because the government is saying, hey, you want to tell us money that's been budgeted, we take it away, we not give it to the hospitals, then how you think the hospitals are functioning anyway? So who do you believe here?
I believe in ambassador.
Why? Why you
The
believe him?
ambassador, because up to now, our hospitals that have been supported by the American taxpayer money and other international communities lack medications. Go to GFK. Don't go to the hospitals in the Leeward counties. See the example in GFK. Payment of nurses not on time. The drugs are not there. When they give you treatment, they refer you to private pharmacy. I don't know what connection they have between the private pharmacies and the hospital. So the ambassador has the right to say it.
And Beaufort Chambers, the speaker, Maryland County, dividing money. So here's the thing. No, let me lay it down for you so that you can respond appropriately. What we're seeing is that this politics of money has been working for these elected officials. It has been their mondo operandi. Save the money, election time, show up, give loans. The people gave you the votes. Is he committing a crime here? Or what is wrong with what he's doing?
He's not committing a crime, but he's continuing to engage in the corruption that our Senator talked about. He continues to show evidence that the government is corrupt. If you can wait for election time before you go to your district and dish up money, that's corruption. Where did he get the money from? Is it his pay or is it money appropriated for his campaign? How many times has he been there to do that during the last 4 years?
And finally,
what are the conditions of the road in his district? To whom did he give the money?
And so finally, given the poor state of the nation's economy and how funds are limited for all social services in our country, especially for poor people, if you were President William, attending the coronation of Charles to be King of England, would that have been a priority for you? Some are arguing that, hey, he's president, this is a world power, and as a Liberian president, it's good for him to be there to rub shoulder with some people. Maybe he will bring a plastic bag home with something in. What will you do?
Just one word or one statement. It would be the least on my list. Leaving the country when all civil servants had not been paid, that would be the least on the agenda.
All right.
Yeah, that would be the least.
All right, thank you. Let's come to Dr. Kwan. Dr. Kwan, 3 issues. Beaufort Chimodi Valley money. Ambassador is saying, well, the country is not being managed well. The people are suffering in the counties. What happened to the money you put in the budget? Beaufort, or Sieh is coming out and say, no. This is none of your business. This is Liberia. Be ambassador, be diplomatic. Don't get into our politics. And President Weah is on the other side. What do you make of all this, sir?
Well, I think the pro tem chair is definitely wrong, but that's not. I mean, they could have the ambassador was specific about the things he had problem with. Number one, he said, "Hey, we have Liberian people working at the embassy, and we collect 25% income tax from their pay, and the legislature who make a whole lot more money." They're not paying 25% taxes. He said, I went to the hospitals that were supposed to be getting certain amount of money in the budget, but when I went there, some of them had said they have not had any kind of budget allocation for 4 years. He said, so you had asked my brother Paul over there, who will you believe? I will ask you the same. Will you believe the numbers that the legislature gave you and say, hey, look at it, it says $70,000 to a hospital in Sano, or when you yourself went Sano and saw the hospital, and they tell you that no allocation has been here for 4 years. He spoke of the service center They said the printer broke down. This is where you go to print your land deeds and your marriage certificates and all that stuff. And the printer has been broken down for almost 4 years, and it has not been replaced. Right? While they're still collecting money for marriage certificates and all that and birth certificates, but people who have had to come all the way back to Monrovia to have it printed because the printer is broken down. But what's more important, the ambassador has said, listen, we have a plan to build the national laboratory here that the Liberian government needs that will cost the Liberian government at least $3 million to operate. Now, if you are not operating these little places that cost $100,000, should we build this place? Are you guys going? Should we put our country's money into building this laboratory when you guys are not paying your bills for $35,000, right? But so the governor in our culture, I mean the ambassador in our culture, they say calling Babu ugly than not cause, right? You just stating a fact. And then Sieh coming out and saying, oh, he's supporting the opposition. They need to check themselves out, right? So if telling the truth is a support to the opposition, then I think Sieh himself will actually be supporting us now by agreeing to the fact that these things are happening and then trying to blame somebody else for telling it. Buffer Chambers dividing money in Maryland. We highlighted, I think Councilor Gonglo highlighted this way back in September of last year when the news came out that the government was printing new money and they did not release the money to the nation when the money got there because they were holding on to it to use it during election time. And why are they doing that? Because it works for them, right? Buffer Chambers is one of the most unpopular person in his own district. I think even his residence was set afire maybe a year and a half ago, where his own constituents went to his compound and set his home on fire. That's how unpopular he is. Now I see him with tubs of money going back there to beg the people so they can vote for him. But, they are only doing these things because it works. And we are blessed these days. We have all these pictures and these cell phone pictures. And everybody is getting to see how our politicians, our inept and our diabolical politicians are using our own money against us. Hopefully the Liberian people will learn that if they continue taking the money and doing the bidding of the politicians during election time, it's like you agreeing to take money from somebody so you can eat for 2 days, and then that person suffers you for 6 years. It will be up to them. I hope we will be able to use your platforms and other platforms out there to let the people know that as long as they continue to listen and allow politicians to do these things, they will continue to do it because it works. As for traveling to London, I even heard where he had gone to a Premier League game and they were in a box, that cost additional thousands of dollars or something. But I'm not surprised by that, right? That's how he has traveled. I mean, if you have contacts over there, maybe you should ask how many people came with him. I don't expect anybody any number less than 30. So if you have a country where people are not taking pay, but whenever there's a opportunity for luxury trips, our government officials are going in numbers, right? In numbers. So then, but that's not new. So that's not worthy of a comment. I think what was the last thing?
So that's the last thing you just addressed, and thank you so very much.
So that's not new. That's not worthy of any comment right now. that we expect of Bagube. The pro-poor agenda has been, make the poor poorer, right? And then
And
let Bagube and his group of people that are closer
thank you. And do when it comes to this traveling that our president, Mr. Weird, he called himself the Coco president. I remember when I went to China, there were 50 people. Samuel Tour have to upgrade his ticket and spend 25,000 of the taxpayers' money. And they told us that about a $1 billion mineral swap that never materialized at all. We also, when they went to COP26, the delegation was about 150 people, Duke. And many other places they traveled. The recent one when
exactly.
he to go play football, 48 days. All right. And we have to foot the bill as a people. And now he's in London for a coronation, spending $1,735 per night at one of the luxurious hotels on the taxpayer people's money. The question I ask for you is,
Now,
what will
I want to say, Anthony, compare that when Gongo traveled as a government official. He looked for the most economic places to stay, and then he brought back change to the government and said, "Hey, I did not, you gave me this much money, but I was able to stay at places that were cheap. You give me money for entertainment, but I stay in my room and study some upcoming cases, so I didn't hang out. So here's the remaining of the money that I did not use, and he brought
and
it back." Now,
thank you,
do you
Dr. Pan.
imagine any of these people taking anything back?
Thank you, Duke. And I mean, Dr. Pan, Duke, I was coming to you.
Yeah.
If Cummings were to be given this opportunity to serve us, given this kind of spending, it's like these people are just traveling just for the per diem for money to go in their pocket, and not necessarily what they will bring back. How will Cummings do it differently to save us millions and millions of dollars? As Trump would say, millions and millions of dollars.
Well, I think we wouldn't be spending money on private jets. Wasteful, and big crowds and groups to go into countries that are not bringing anything back to the country. I think Mr. Cummings, from an economic and financial standpoint, this is his area. He's a manager, and he understands waste, and he understands that for a country like Liberia, we cannot be engaging in activities like that. And I think he's made it clear on several occasions that the wasteful spending of the president is why we continue to have these economic hardships in the country. He was vocal about it when the president got a private jet. He was vocal about it when the president left the country to attend the World Cup for a long time while people were struggling there. But I think from a Cummings perspective, you will see responsible leadership. You will see the kind of executive that he was at Coca-Cola, where he was looking for opportunities to be able to cut down costs and make sure that we're using profits to better other areas. And that's what he said, that he's not, he doesn't intend to take any kind of salary from government. In fact, he instructs that monies allocated for the office of the presidency be redirected into those other sectors that can provide some sort of accountability for, not only officials of government, people working in government, right? Like the General Auditing Committee, making sure that we're strengthening the sector, to protect the interests of the Liberian people. So with the Cummings, you will see something different because we respect the people of Liberia and we believe that resources should be used to create economic flexibilities.
Thank you. And Mr. Namwe, share in his argument or lambasting of the ambassador on the issue of the numbers.
Well, we're moving on, Mr. Namwe. I didn't address the arbitrary issue too.
So. Oh, okay. Go ahead.
So,
go ahead.
That's true. But
yeah, so let me give you this, right? And this piece is major. So Chia is saying, hey, the ambassador talking about we getting $65 million, and he think we are spending all that $65 million on ourselves because that's what the ambassador is saying. Oh, we have staff, we have other things. So that is not paid directly coming to our pockets. Does he have a point there? Because that's $65 million for the legislature, though.
Ansony, I've always said this, and when I make these comments, people think that I'm being a little harsh and I'm not being politically mature, but I think the government is irresponsible. These guys, look, in a competitive society, we wouldn't have an arbitrary in that kind of position. Let's be honest here. In a serious country, the likes of Carlos Green and Abacha would never be anywhere close to public office. Now, when you look at the
And
U.S.
how did he
ambassador,
come to that conclusion? They were
well,
elected.
no, listen, but you see, that's part of the problem, right? If we were in a serious society wherein our people were a little bit more informed, we wouldn't run into these type of issues where we have people like Abacha making decisions.
But do
But
our people give them the opportunity for them to serve them? They are not doing their work. It's like you're putting the blame on our people as well.
and so then everybody will have shared responsibility of what's unfolding in the country. But I'm saying that if we were opportune to have a country that was a little different than what it is now, people like Akaras Gray and Abacha wouldn't be in positions of authority. Now, to follow up that, so this is where I think that, there's propaganda versus reality. And it seems like this government has not really, elevated itself, separated itself from campaign politics to actual governance. And so what we have here are people who continue to play these little games, right? And think that everybody's somehow stupid, if I may just use that expression. So, when we said these things, when we started speaking about all of these challenges and the things that the government was doing, they will come up and throw propaganda and accuse the opposition of creating chaos. Here is it. You have the greatest country in the world. You have the American ambassador. We all know what it takes to gather real data and evidences. This man takes his time. And by the way, he's not meddling in the affairs of the country. The U.S. is one of the largest contributors towards Liberia. It is their responsibility to inform taxpayers and Congress as to how the monies that's being given to the Liberian government is being spent. So he went on his own personal tour and assessment to write a report and submit to his government. All of the things that he stated that were factual, Ansony, just the other day during the COVID period. Wasn't it Mr. Cummings assessing the counties and finding out that our hospitals did not have drugs and oxygen tanks and all of those basic things that are needed to treat our people? What did Mr. Cummings do? Provide supplies to government hospitals and private hospitals. So it is not a surprise that these things are happening in the country. They are the truth. This is actually what's happening, unfolding in our country, Liberia. But the government continues to play politics and use propaganda to deny, right, some of the truth, the realities that we're seeing here. So, I don't think that we take with face value what the government is telling us, because this is the same government that lies about almost everything. And if there's anybody to believe here, it will be the people who are putting the money into the country. And I believe the American ambassador when he says so. I think you're on mute, Ansony.
I'm coming to you, Robert. I say you read the full statement from the ambassador. Is there anything that you disagree with? And do you agree with everything he said? And if so, why you share any agreement in any form at all?
Well, first of all, for the pro Temple to come up and say that the statement was in support of the opposition speaks to his own ignorance. Because I want to read some key pointers that I got from that. He said, "At least you think this is the work of one political party. That notion was quickly dispelled by Liberians I talked to. Listen to this. The blocking of resources is so complete that it must be institutional, and the lack of any alarm being raised indicate a syndicate involving players at the legislature, the Ministry of Health, and the Ministry of Internal Affairs." Look, there's no secret that while hospitals went without, these guys spent $65 million or more on themselves. He's absolutely right that why these centers have not received. Look, he even mentioned something about a printer. Can you imagine a printer? That there have been people who could not get marriage certificates because this printer does not work. A printer for a whole country, such as our country, that's embarrassing. And so when he talks about we don't spend all this on ourselves, the question we want to know is, well, how much of that $65 million do you spend on yourself? Because it's very clear that these guys make more than they deserve to make. They make more than the work requirement. They make more than what their imports. And so it's clear that there was not much in what the minister, in what the ambassador said, that was a lie. And I don't think that the government did itself any favor by the response that they put out. I thought it was weak, and it had no substance to it. Now, with regards to this trip, look, I think that George Weah have got to make some really smart decisions. Uh, I don't think that it is a bad idea to get an invitation from the UK to attend such a historic event. And I see that some of the opposition have been trying to play on the minds of Liberians that are not informed by releasing a few days before the coronation, releasing photos of countries under former UK rule. And they question whether or not the president was invited or not. We know the invitation came, right? But did the president, was it mandatory for him to make this trip? The U.S. government sent Jill Biden, the first lady, to represent them. The Chinese government, who, as we all know now, have a very good relationship with the UK, sent its VP. There are over 203 countries that were invited. And of the 203 countries, there are almost 50% of them that would not be represented by its heads of states. So when you look at Liberia and all of the issues that we are faced with right now, including the NEC lack of the needed resources they need to conduct these elections. These are very important elections. If the resources were available, you and I will agree that they would not have been conducting the registration thesis, right? So there are clear issues here with regards to the lack of resources. And then you have to also factor in, and this is a political point, that people have not gotten paid when you are in these election season. I'm a rookie when it comes to Liberian politics, but common sense suggests that the last folks nerves you want to get on are the common people, the people who you need to go at the polls. If these guys have not gotten paid for months, but yet and still you are flying private jets and you are taking this humongous trip overseas that will cost taxpayer all this money, it raises questions as to where your interest lies. So again, you are giving the opposition more ammunition to hit you. And so it baffles me that the president, look, we have an ambassador in London. I was in London in January for my birthday. And look, they have a big embassy out there. These guys are living on taxpayer backs already. You could have easily sent the first lady or utilized your foreign minister, which would have cost less more money than you actually taking the trip. And so for that, I think it raises a lot of questions as to what the president is thinking, who are his advisors, and what are they advising him. What was the last point? What was the last thing you talked about? I think it was three of them. What was the last
Yeah,
one?
buffer chambers dividing money, Robert.
But look, look. First of all, wow. Let me say this. I look at the money part, right?
Mhm.
And the first thing I thought about was the infusion of the new bills that were supposed to have been printed. Because if you look on the market right now, that you still have old bill that are still circulating on the markets. And people have always said these guys are printing this new cash because they want to run the election. And look at the money. The money looks brand new. The money looks like he actually went to the vault and got them out himself. They're still in plastic bag, and he puts them on a table. Proudly puts them on a table with a few sodas, less than probably 2 cases of sodas. Look, there are issues that our people are faced with, for once, for God in heaven's sake. And even if you give each Liberian $1,000 or $10,000 each, how much of those issues can that money really solve? Look, we have serious infrastructure issues. We have healthcare issues. We have education reform issues. We have a dysfunctional private sector right now, where the government have been the highest employer in our country for over 40 years. Can you imagine? 40, you have college graduating college, Ansony, and for over 4, 5, 6 years cannot find a job. How do we convince them to go back and get a master's degree? There is no system that encourages academic performance. You have all of these things going on, and you throw money at these people. What does that actually solve? For a man who is the third most powerful figure in our country, it raises a lot of questions as to the sanity of the folks that we are actually electing as leaders in our country. That was not a good. Why he couldn't get the money to his surrogates? Why? I mean, what is wrong with this?
And Rabbi, I want you to learn with this. So this is a leader in our country, a lawmaker, who is charged with the responsibility of passing the national budget for improving the material condition of the people. Whether or not why being allotted for the people is enough is another thing. We have consistently shown this graph here. I focus on Liberia for our people to get it, and I'm going to show it again. Look here, guys. So this is the allotment in the budget nearly all the time for our counties. They just allot 200,000 for each county. Each county, 200,000. That is their allotment in their budget year after year. Do you know what Buffalo Chimo gets as speaker? Over $1 million. Over $1 million is what he got. Chair almost 2. Now the VP, I think her thing might be about close to 2 million. These are the people that are representing the people. And now the people too have opportunity. I mean, have responsibility, and that's why I want you to close on. I know in Ghana, these politicians carrying rice to the people threw the rice back at them in the paper and said, "No, we don't want it. We want you to leave. We want you to form basic social services for our children." This thing doesn't help. Why haven't Liberians gotten to that point? What I see is even the politicians, the opposition folks, will tell, when you bring the money, that your money, take it and eat it. Is that happening?
No, it's hurting. It's hurting. And this is the reason why I've said, Ansony, I would not be a part of any political club that is centered around some individuals or some bank accounts. Look, I'm, God has blessed some of us. We understand what true democracy actually means. The idea that, and by the way, you didn't mention that they've also allocated over $30,000 for what they term as constituency visit, right? With no mechanism in place for accountability and transparency whatsoever, right? No one asks questions as to what is done with that money, and what. First of all, why are you being paid to return to your constituents to actually update them on what you've done? Like progress is made, laws you've championed in the interest of in their interest. Why are you being paid for that? But look, it tells you where we are as a country. And beyond all of the politics, beyond 2023, my hope, because some of us don't want to remain in this country like our fathers and our uncles, 50 years, 60 years, and they're still here working. We want to be able to kick back when we are 45, 50 years old in our country where we've actually made an impact. We want to see our country move to the next level. And it is our hope that we continue to educate the people on our civil responsibilities. We'll continue to expose them to things that they're not exposed to, and that they're able to make the right decisions based on holding those laws accountable for what they've promised and what they've done.
Thank you.
Hey, Ansony, I'm not sure quickly here. I think I missed that point, but the printing of the new monies, and I just want to add that the reason why they held on to that money is to kind of, manipulate the actual economic numbers. So in terms of inflation, it's funny you say that because we just had a conversation today. So what it did is that they created an artificial shortage. This was desperation for the Liberian dollars, and then gradually, started fusing it. But the reason why they won't put it up in large quantity now is because the moment they do that wash out, the U.S. rate's going to go up. So it's all part of the deceptive tactics and also campaigning strategy as well. And this is something that we have to be mindful of and start, making sure we're talking about these issues to educate our people. I just wanted to quickly throw that part in there.
Thank you, Mr. Namwed. It's your turn on the three issues raised. Buffer chamber money, president traveling during the time, and Sieh is saying the ambassador is up to something. He's helping the opposition.
Right. You know what? I would not waste my time on responding to the president pro tem. I think all of us here are in agreement that his characterization of the ambassador's statement is nonsensical. We are all Liberians. We know what is happening in the country. You travel out of the country, you see, the neglect. So we know that. Speaker Chambers, I am from Maryland County actually, and I'm wondering, how he got into Plebo, because the roles we know, the roles are impossible almost, and he's been in the House there for, this is called the Southeastern government. The president, the speaker, the deputy speaker, key personnel are in government, and yet the Southeast is virtually neglected. And he has the gall to go over there. I understand he's giving $750 Liberian to each of the people who attended the program. That's about $5, to this exchange rate. But our people are getting smarter. I believe the return rate, the re-election rate of our lawmakers is less than 1%. I know you had mentioned what the people are doing in Ghana, and yes, our people, I believe, are demonstrating similar reaction. They take their money and don't vote them back in. That has been their playbook, but it didn't work for a while, and then they saw it working in Lofa with the Jala election campaign. So now they have resuscitated that playbook, and Chambers is applying that playbook. But I'm confident that our people, they see behind the smoke screens, and they would know what to do. Shameless plug here. My little brother is running for a seat in Maryland County, Tianangwe. He's running for the Senate. He is actually out in the streets, getting to know the people and addressing the problems, dedicating infrastructure, that kind of thing. I believe that's what campaigning is about, not to gather people in the town square and and give them money. The president's foreign trips, I think presidents, should travel and interact with other leaders around the world. But the question becomes, the benefit. Leaders get out to travel because, especially say on an occasion like this, where you have so many leaders assembled in one place, you have an opportunity to chat on the sidelines of these gatherings. You talk to your counterparts, and try to garner resources for your country. But our president, I understand he requested, I think, $200,000, if I'm not mistaken. You had alluded to the trip to China, the trip to the World Cup. I'm not going to even go that far. We all know what is happening here. So he takes his money. He leaves 5 days ahead of the event. And it takes him 2 days to get from Monrovia to London, if he's even in London. I mean, he's flying a private jet. I mean, even if you lay over, 2 days to get to London. And even as yet, we haven't seen ending photos of him chatting or conversing or dialoguing with any leader, let alone, the leaders that invited him over. So on the look of it, and I don't want to be presumptuous here. Hopefully, when he gets back, we'll see what benefits he brings up. But on the look of it, it looks like a pleasure trip for this president, which has almost always been the case with his travels. He gets out of the country, he has a good time. He carries as his buddies with him, and stays 40, 50 days, You know, he was out 48 days at $2,000 per day for his daily survival allowance. That's $96,000 just to put in his pocket. Then, of course, there is the cost of the travel and the delegations. You know, we saw the Maritime Commissioner at the World Cup in a privileged, VIP box. And we know these things cost a lot of money. So it really leaves us with the question as to, what this president's priorities really are. Did he come in here just to have a good time? I know he's young, in his 50s, but it just seems like this is, an opportunity to have a good time and then, come back and give the people, raw cash and get reelected for another 12 years. And I'm hoping another 6 years. I'm really hoping that our people, will wise up to these antics and reject this current government for who they are. They are an unserious group of people. They are unpatriotic. They're very greedy, and they make no pretense of it. The guys hit the doors in the first 3 months or so. What do we have? $16 billion and over 100 million US dollars equivalent. And then we have the $25,000 mop up, and then the elbow muff deal. All these charades. Since we've been in this country, since this government has been in power, we haven't seen any significant investment in the country. So these foreign trips, I believe, they are a waste. They amount to nothing. Foreign trips are good as much as the expenditure to make this trip is less than the returns. If it is the other way around, then it's a waste of our taxpayers' money.
Thank you. And Mr. Zoga, you get the last one on this one.
Yes.
And one thing in particular I want to throw at you to play emphasis on, if you don't mind, is the issue of accountability on this trip, right? If you will remember, we demanded how much it will cost the country on that 48-day trip that the president took. Eugene Nambwe, the Commissioner of Maritime, the Finance Minister, they were all asked. They promised and they failed to disclose to us how much of our money they used to fund that trip. To this day, we have no knowledge. I am aware that when the U.S. president travels, if you want to get the cost, you will get it. In our country, it's different. Why so? And when will that change?
My colleagues, they all have spoken on major events surrounding the travel of the president, and you have just said, I'm going to comment on that. The president continued to violate the Constitution. This is the reason why we want him. We want the Liberian people to not give him the chance to be elected the second term. Article 62 of our Constitution says that the president or the vice president for issues of misconduct, bribery, can be impeached. Unfortunately, he holds the entire legislature, and so he cannot be impeached. The only thing can happen now is the voters of Liberia that are feeling the weight must not re-elect Josh Weah. As a matter of fact, we are his employer. We have the responsibility to know how much is given to him that he's carrying on a foreign trip. Did he meet the legislature? Did the legislature approve his budget to travel? One of our panelists just said that. No, we don't have records to that. So this is the reason why we all are calling on the Liberian voters. Don't vote President Josh Weah the second term. You're going to be committing suicide, like our stand-up bearer normally says. You're going to be committing suicide. So let's come to the issues of this American ambassador. This is not a new thing, just that where it comes from. Because, like I said from the beginning, the United States is the greatest nation in the world. So any of our officials speaks around the world, the country or the world want to listen. If everyone can record September 22nd, 2022, when Councillor Gonglo spoke on OKFM, he said that, look, the hospitals, he has traveled these places, hospital does not have this. And that has been like 7 months back. So this is not a new thing. The only thing is where it comes from. He also made mention that, look, I asked an expert that the 390 million which was given to the legislature, if that money alone was infused in the health area, Liberia will have the best hospital. No government officials will leave from here and go to Ghana. So it's not new. It's not new. So again, to end, the Liberian people must not re-elect Josh Weah. He continues to violate the Constitution. He continued to exhibit misconduct in the office that we give him. Oh, come back. Accountability, zero. Of course, they won't account for anything. The president pro tem cannot. The speaker, and all these people are from the same region. Oh, come back. This is just a clique that is leading our nation. And unfortunately for us, this is where we find ourselves. So Liberian people, we must not re-elect Josh Weah. It is going to be a suicide that Liberian people will commit, as we normally say.
Thank you. We will now go to our callers to get a minute each from them for their contribution, and then we will come back to the panelists for the conclusion of the broadcast. We have the man, Evan Morris. Mr. Morris, you are live, and you have a minute, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Sieh, and hello to your panelists. Quickly, I want to say we know what dictators are. We've seen them in Liberia. Tubman was a dictator, Doe was a dictator, and President Taylor was a dictator. George Weah is not a dictator. So I think Mr. Bloc, I need to retract that statement because this is the rhetoric that can cause dissent in the country. You know, you can disagree with the president as he's been doing on the platform, and he's well within his rights to do that. But to start casting expressions as somebody being a dictator, especially when we've seen people who kill and manhunt people in that country, you know, just simply based on tribe or political affiliation, I think President Weah is far from it. You can argue the order of death, but in that same breath, I think you can call Ellen Johnson a dictator because she killed Harry Grief, you know, and Allison. And no account was, no logical conclusion came to their deaths. So if you're using the auditor of deaths to say that makes the president a dictator, then I think you can say the same thing about the immediate past government that came. But let me just say this. You know, when it comes to this whole VP pick from Cummings and Gongo, you know, if I was in a perfect world, Gongo would be my first choice, and Cummings a close, second choice in terms of the opposition bloc. But for some of us, I think Mr. Duke and other, ANC sympathizers, we were originally behind Cummings because I think those of us who live in this country, we know what it takes to rise up the corporate ladder. You have to be well inclined in terms of, your business acumen, even in some aspects, your political, acumen as well, because sometimes working in a company is about, ingratiating yourself with the people in the company to give you opportunities to rise up the ladder. For his association, the people that he's associated with, some of the decisions that he's made, it put a lot of us on the back, to take a step back. But we think that Cummings will be a more competent leader, no doubt about it. He has the ability. But before you get there, you have to win. His charisma is lacking. He doesn't gel well with the people. The people don't relate to him. So for people like Duke who's talking, you're talking the technical aspect of it, you're talking about his credentials, but you're not really talking about his likability, his relatability to the people. And I think that's his biggest drawback. With Councilor Gonglo, a lot of people like him. But believe it or not, sometimes the place you come from, it put a stigma on you. And inside of Nimba, he's very popular, but outside of Nimba, a lot of people, don't really know him that well. They may not vote for him. Well, I said it earlier on another show when people are talking about this whole thing with Prince Johnson and Jeremiah Cohn. Prince Johnson can be the godfather of Nimba all he wants. But when he comes close to national, power and other people who really don't like him and other people who hold certain things against him, that's going to be a big problem. And I know somebody, we think that we're so far removed from war that we can't go back to war again. Trust me, we can go back to war again.
Mr. Evis,
so I'll leave it there. Go ahead.
Evis, I want you to land on there and be quick as much as you can. Prince Johnson supported president. We are in the last election, and yet your county, Grand Judah, overwhelmingly voted president. We are despite this scene, Prince Johnson raising we as hand. So how is it going to be different this time? Is it because it's black?
That's an excellent point, Mr. Sieh. And I think we're all smart enough, and you already know the answer to that point. But the simple answer is that Prince Johnson had no, in terms of national sway over President Weir. They didn't have a vice presidential candidate who is a heartbeat away from the presidency, who he controls. Everybody knows.
Mm-hmm.
So even when Prince Johnson was in collaboration with President Weir, he complained for his lack of access and his lack of influence on President Weir's government. Mm-hmm. So we understand Prince Johnson was useful in Nimba County. In this instance, Prince Johnson will have, he'll be so close to the power of the national government and national coffers of our country. And that is unacceptable for some of us. It's not just about Prince Johnson coming from Nimba. I have nothing against the people from Nimba. As you know, my partner is from Nimba. Her family is from there. So it's not a tribalistic thing, but it's an individual thing. And I think we have to be cognizant of it and what ripple effects it might have down the line. I will leave it at, I think I've taken too much time on the line.
Thank you. Let's hear from Harrison Bajibo. You are live, please. Harrison, you are live. Please go ahead. Bajibo is not ready yet. We'll bring in Peter. Hey, Pete, welcome to Focus on Liberia. You are live.
Thank you so much for having me, Mr. C. Thank you, panelists, for the conversation. This is extremely important to the livelihood of our country, our democracy, which is just people have a say in how they want their lives to be governed. So I really appreciate this opportunity to add my voice. Just like the previous caller, I too am Great Judean. So maybe it's all of us Southeasterners calling right now. But I want to address a couple of points real quick. First point I want to address to the last caller, where I have a little dissent. I won't use that word, he used it, with what he asserted. The first thing is, I think this thing is, as far as George Weir is concerned, the writing's on the wall. What the Americans do, and that's the thing with history. Those who haven't studied history or learned from history are bound to repeat it. America has a pattern of telling you when they're about to remove you, they no longer assassinate presidents, but they find a way to get rid of you. With Doe, a countryman of mine and my family, okay, the CIA straight up told them, you can YouTube it, you can Google it, straight up told them, we have tried to help you, you haven't used the money for X, Y, and Z. So therefore, we're no longer going to support you. How did the American government do this with George Weir? That's what that ambassador's letter is about. It's an indictment on your ability to lead the country. So for all intended purposes, George Weir is on his way out. Let's not kid ourselves and let's not lie to ourselves, but we'll all see what happens in a few months. Okay. Mr. C, you asked, when will it change? When will it change? Well, it will change when we stop playing the fences, right? There are a few people like, oh, I'm not part of no political party. Why not? You have to pick a side. You do, because you trying to be some objective person for the sake of objectivity is not working right now. There are decisions that have to be made. You need to go with the person who's closest to our ideology. Okay, it's easy to say I'm not part of any political party. There is a reason why I often ask for a presidential candidate ideology or worldview. A man will spend money and time on things that he values. So if someone says they care about something, they're going to spend time and money with that thing. So my question is, these people who are running, what have they spent their time and money on? The reason why George Weah is taking off and spending all this money, we talk about budgets, it doesn't matter. That's not his thing. It was never his thing. And we didn't ask these hard questions until we elected this man. Okay? There's a formula in which nations are built. There's a distinct formula. That's why this conversation is important. These are things we need to be talking about, right? Country is not just built because someone has a will. You have to have skill. You have to have a skill to do it too. You have to have the knowledge. These people are not even talking. We're not even having those conversations. How are nations built from? There are many nations that are built from scratch after World War II. We haven't talked about those things. Okay, when is Boycott going to come on a show like this and take questions from the Liberian people? Cummings has done it time after time after time. When are you guys who are running these networks going to demand that he comes out and answer some questions? We're going to grandfather this man into leadership.
Peter, to your point, we have made a lot of efforts to get Mr. Boycott, and we are still hoping that's going to happen. Yes, you are right. Mr. Cummings came here and we gave him the tough questions. Gonglo has been here multiple times. We want all of them here because Liberians listen to the platform. But Peter, I want you to close with this. Peter, please, I want you to close with this.
Let me close here.
Yeah, let me add this to it. You said Joshua is on his way out. And I'm looking for
Ansony, I'm muted myself.
Oh, okay. All right, please mute yourself. I'll come back to you. All right. So, Pete, you said Joshua is on his way out, and I'm trying to see how is that possible. Now, we are going around the country, spending money, showing projects, and doing all that. We see Liberians lining up to see him, and we see that he still has a support base. He is still popular in the country. The opposition unity that many Liberians were hoping of, it disappeared to a greater extent. And you think we are still out here?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but he's on his way out. As far as the support that he needs to win, especially the international support, that benefit of self that he got when he first ran, he no longer has that. Can you use cash violence against the people when they come out, like Buffett Chamber giving them money? Of course you can do that. And that's what's attracting people, not the will. I was just in Liberia over a month ago, and I was there for over a month. And I am telling you, our people are no longer with CDC. My father, okay, maybe it's a regional thing. My father was a major, all my family were major CDC champs. And I believe in the CDC ideology or whatever they were meant to be. Joshua is just not the leader, and the people are feeling that and expressing that now. Even today, they were being booed out of a market and being called roll world. But let me close on this, right? I believe we need to elevate the conversation. When we talk about, I forget who talked about charisma and say, well, Cummings doesn't have the charisma. Cummings, that person hasn't spent any time with Cummings. That's not true that he doesn't have the charisma. Secondly, how many CEOs do you know make deals because of, they make headways because of the charisma? We need someone who can talk business with international community. We need to connect Liberia with the outside world. He has that skill set. He will create jobs. That's all that matters. When we are looking for perfection in a candidate, then we're going to lose great opportunities that we have now. What charisma are you talking about? I've been around the man. He has good enough charisma. But the other thing he has that nobody else has is the international knowledge and worldview of how to raise build countries. And he's articulated that over and over again. Let me close here though. Tribe, region, class is separating us and keeping us away from picking the best candidate. We need to move away from that. And those of us who are on shows like this and in the diaspora, those are the only people listen to lives anyway, we need to elevate the conversation and let our people know those things are not very important. The best leader is. Thank you so much for allowing me to add my voice.
Thank you, gentlemen. Let me take my last caller here. caller with phone number ending in 9009. You are live, please.
Yeah, Ansony, thank you for bringing me on.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Ansony, for bringing me on.
If you are listening, hold on. If you are listening to the live show, can you cut it off and just listen to the phone, please?
Mostly, I want to thank Mr. Don and
there's a terrible feedback from you. Whatever you're listening to, turn it off and only speak to the phone or listen to the phone, please.
Getting me now, right?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to thank Isaac Gagwa and Mr. Don for the for their video tonight. So I'm going to start with comment. Number one, you see, if you want to be a leader, you got to be fair to the people. Like Gagwa said, Kumi insisted on having a primary where the people will elect or select the running mate. And right after
I think he went off though. We're not hearing anything.
contract will have a parable that says when you fall down somewhere and you come in there next time, you should be careful. The ruling party approached Samokai to have gone on their ticket. But because he rejected and went on, the party ticket, they came against him and removed him. And we saw the replacement, Mr. Jala. Okay, he's a surrogate. So if you have this lady in the court, you Mr. Kumi, and then you wanted to appoint her, and when they start coming against her, it will be a problem for Mr. for Bloc. So Jeremiah is an individual that came into politics all by himself before even he didn't come in politics as a president, grandson, or whosoever grandson as they consider him, until when he started shining. And in politics, the same thing that made Joseph Bloc fail to become president yesterday is what we try to avoid today. I am for Sharon Gondo, but I speak the truth. You see, Joseph Bloc yesterday, that made him to fail yesterday is that the president of Liberia, the person himself for 12 years as vice president, why the president move from behind him? And why did she go behind Joyce Weir? Because Joyce Weir always campaign was like, I will defend the president, I will protect her. But then later approached Joseph Bloc, will you protect me? And Joseph Bloc said, what do you mean? If I'm president of Liberia, I'll protect everybody. So there is something that most of us that do not know that between those people.
Thank you.
And that's why, so like we said, if you do not win, you cannot leave. So this time around, I think he wants to win before he can leave. And Kevin Gondo is the man that come with clean hands. Why will coming be going down? You see, look, let me just one more second, I will be done.
Yeah, please, one more second.
But people are talking about if Bloc I go coming bring normally he will win. It's not a matter of winning, it's a matter of serving the people.
Thank you.
So with all the friction that they have gone through, if you bring this woman on board and she's coming to take power to fight against you, or you would want to use her to take power and silence her in another way that we saw between George Weir and Joel Howard. When she left, she went to ask for a excuse to George, and they didn't go her until she went Ghana. That woman was compared to apologize, but it was not deep down for her heart.
Thank you.
So if these people are doing, if people want to leave like people, let them be fair.
Thank you, sir.
Commentary over there, you don't want to be president.
Thank you.
Desperate.
Thank you.
That's how I want to conclude, and I'm giving it to my brother, too.
Thank you.
Your leader is desperate.
Thank you, Mr. Gagwa. If you can come in for your closing, we appreciate that. You can come on. So, gentlemen, we are at the conclusion of the discussion. I'd appreciate all of you for your contribution. You know, it was civil, no interruption. That is how the discussion should be. And I want to commend all of you for being very civil and informative and analytical during this particular discussion. So, let's start with closing. Robert, you here? Comrade Paul, you want to close and you have a minute, please.
I want to thank you for the platform. I want to thank you for the work you have been doing. And I want to say that my standard bearer, Councillor Bongo, is the best, and we'll continue to support him. And maybe in not too distant time, we'll get a vice presidential candidate that will run with him.
Thank you so very much. Mr. Nangbe, you're closing.
Thank you very much, Anthony, and thank you, my fellow panelists. I think it was a beautiful night, beautiful discussion. Thank you also to our listeners. Some of them have been very interactive, reading some of the comments. Look, I believe the problems that Liberia is confronted with require a steady hand. They require an experienced and well-connected president. We have seen what we've endured over the past 6 years or so. I was in Monrovia. My wife and I would go at least twice a year. We just got back here in January. And our people are really suffering. I mean, I was telling some friends the last time I was there, actually I saw females at night now running after cars, you know, when you park your car. It used to be boys who would come and say, Papa, you know, Oma, I'll help you secure you. But now we have girls at 2 o'clock in the morning. This is the level of desperation that our people are going through. There's a lot of suffering, and most of the problems that the country is facing can very easily be resolved with a competent and experienced, well-connected, and patriotic president. So I will call on my fellow Liberians, come October 10th, go out there, choose for a better Liberia, choose the fixer. Thank you.
Thank you. Who wants to go next?
Yeah, let me go.
Okay, that's fine.
You know, I like one of the, the last guys who called. You know, when I came back and stayed 2 months in Liberia, and before, if you tell our people, they say, no, we don't, we don't respect the Liberian people. I know they're going to re-elect George Weah. They kind of cry we see. But look, George Weah can never have a second term. The people are suffering, and they don't want to even hear him. They don't want to hear about his business in any portion of the market. So here, reference to the other caller who said, look, I should retract my statement. A statement can never be retracted. I cannot. He is a dictator and a killer. So Liberian people must not give George Weah a second chance. Liberia will be committing a suicide. That's what I can say to our Liberian people. And come October 11, vote the guy with consistency. One whose values has some coherence. That is, what he says is what he lives. That way, our country would be a better place to live. And as I see from this, Ansony, thank you so much. I think the opposition, we are in better hands right here. If this was a complete discussion, Joshua is out tomorrow. He's out tomorrow. And I see that again, the opposition will get to a better place, will get to a better point where we will be able to trail Liberia better path. Thank you. for having us tonight.
All right, Dr. Kwan. Dr. Kwan, you are muted, sir. You're closing.
I want to say thank you for hosting us tonight and giving us this opportunity to reach out to our people. Nobody has to tell the Liberian people that they're suffering. And there's a part of suffering that bothers on indignity. Councilor Gonglo used to say, I mean, he still says, back in the day, Liberian people used to call their relatives in America and say, Uncle, I'm building my house. Can you help me with zinc or cement? Right? Because they could feed themselves, they can pay their own rent, if they get malaria, they could buy their own tablets. These days, people can't do that for themselves anymore. They call it even for rice, for their children own tuition. Even people that got work, they can't even pay their children own tuition. I was listening to this press conference by the UN representative in Liberia there, for development, and she said the status quo is unattainable. We can maintain this. But the Liberian people are disillusioned and disheartened because they think all the politicians are the same. So when you're talking, like why everybody can say, but that's not true, guys. Say, even though we can predict the future, but sometimes when you look at how the person has lived their life, you see their character, you are able to say, okay, I know this person's character and it's not going to change tomorrow. So it's up to you, Liberian people. We did the Constitution in a way that every 6 years, even if you made a mistake the last time, you have an opportunity to redo the mistake. We have a person of character in the race this year, and we have no doubt that if you were to vote for that character, that person of integrity, your own situation will change. People that go to work will get paid on time, so that indignity you feel when you have to pick up that phone and call, you don't have to go through that kind of suffering anymore. So thank you, guys. We have very high expectations of you guys, and we'll continue to talk to you, because if you do the same thing you did 5 years ago, the result will still be the same. We hope this time you will vote for the future and not for just a temporary feeling, or somebody gave you 60 Liberian dollars and then you're going to sell 6 years of your life and your children's future for a few Liberian dollars. You want to vote for somebody that will make the condition good so that you can take care of yourself. Thank you.
Thank you. Doug?
Thanks, Ansony, for the opportunity of being here. I hope we can continue these engagements, because we're at a pivotal period, not only in Liberia's history, but when it comes to our entire existence. Before I went back to Liberia, I had my own perception, and when I walked into the country, everything that I saw validated everything that we've said from the onset of this government, and even more. The desperation and hopelessness in that country is nothing that is, hiding. It is public. The hopelessness in young children selling along the streets, young men that have been reduced. I'll share a personal story. Sunday morning, I'm, getting ready to go to church, Trinity Cathedral, and the young man called me from downstairs, upstairs. Somebody's outside to see you. So I was kind of wondering who it was, and came downstairs, and I saw this gentleman. I barely recognized him, but it happened to be a childhood friend. We call them in Liberia Zocos, disadvantaged young people. I was broken, and I think I remember texting on social media that I was really sad. I have not seen this person in 20-something years, and what I saw of them is not the person I remember. What was really sad is that he could barely stand. And I helped him to sit down, and he just completely collapsed on the floor. He was intoxicated. He was probably drugged. And that particular interaction led me to see if I could find help for him. And I took whatever I had, provided it, and I went back the following evening. Ansony, I say this to say that the desperation in Liberia, the hopelessness in that country, did not just happen overnight. It happened because we elected a president that does not care about the ordinary people. And you know what, though? Some of those young people who are now victims of society, the downtrodden, the Blue Revolution was actually ushered in to protect their interests. The Blue Revolution now becomes the burden that they have to live with, the harsh consequences, those harsh realities that we now have to deal with. But thankfully, I am convinced that with all I've seen, engaging our people in different counties, in the markets, in schools, that Mr. Comics remains the only fixer that can repair the broken years that we've seen. The only person that I believe can give us the kind of economic flexibility to be able to resuscitate our country. And I do understand that with all the challenges we faced thus far, that somewhere at the end, in the opposition, we can find reason to believe that this is not business as usual. We must put forth the best candidate that can change things around for the sake of our people, for the sake of George, the young man I was telling about. They deserve a leadership that is different from what we've been accustomed with. So I say thanks, Ansony. Hopefully we can continue to engage our people. Thanks to the listening audience, and I look forward to making sure that we can together make George Weah our one-term president.
Gentlemen, thank you. Rabo, I don't see you, so I will be closing the broadcast, and I want to join the panelists to say a very big thanks to Liberians who tuned in this evening or tonight and follow the discussion that we had here about our country. And I'm not a science student. There's something called fulcrum, the point on which a level rests or is supported and on which a pivot. Now, if you bring it to politics, it could be a thing that plays a central or an essential role in an activity, event, or situation. What am I saying here? Tier 1 is running. They call him the project manager, people will say. And Cummings is running. They call him the fixer. Bloc is running. They call him the rescuer. He's rescue 1. His number 2 is rescue number 2. Who's going to take Liberia to that place? Will it be the proper president? Some people said no. Seditious are saying he's our guy. They even call him Black president. The people decide. The people are the one facing the harsh economic realities that Duke and everyone talk about. It bites. It does not know anyone by their title. Some people were well employed today. They are practically homeless. Liberia decides 2023. Will it be Cummings? Will he provide growth to the CPP and give it energy and snatch this thing from where? Or will Weah maintains the ball? Will he maintain the ball? Or Bloc, the guy, does he get the last laugh this time? Or is he going to receive another sucker punch? I don't know. The decision rests with the Liberian people. My name is Ansony Sieh. I brought you another edition of the Hour of Politics. Let's keep talking. Our mobs are not guns. That's the best we can do. The last time we did not talk better or more, we went into war. That is not what we want now. Let's talk Liberia. Let's debate Liberia. And maybe together we can put Liberia in a very good place. The song says we are all Liberians. That song closes every broadcast here. I focus on Liberia, and today will not be an exception. Thank you for watching. Until we catch you again, we say bye-bye.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home.